Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new month here on the Retro Blood. And this month, we're going to be talking all about 1980s horror anthology movies. That's right. If y'all like multiple stories wrapped up into one movie, then this is the review month for you, brother, because we're starting this one off strong, very strong, with a comic book like style movie where we have a old man who just wants a piece of cake, where we have a dumb hillbilly played by a very famous horror writer, where we have a man from Naked Gun trying to bury people in the beach. Then we and then we have a we got a box creature, and the new way to get rid of your wife from this box creature. And of course, we round the whole story up with the Nest origin story. That's right, because we are talking about CreepShow, brother. Hey, Alison, James Kline, what's happening, Alison? How do you feel about these 5 stories in CreepShow land, in Anthology Month land?
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on, James? I really like this. I've wanted to do this for a long time.
This was your idea.
To do these anthology movies. So I guess we'll have to just explain to the people probably what an anthology movie is, but we'll do that as we go. I like how you bring back the Nest. Remember when we did that on the show? It's back in the archives.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. I was like, you know what? Like, this can be like part of that movie. You know what I mean? With the cockroaches everywhere and taking over everything. And you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking about it. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be a big month. We have 5 shows this month, at least.
I know. And just imagine, it's like, not only is it like 5 shows, but it's like stories, like, you know, it's like 2, 3, 4 stories within one story. So,
yeah,
pretty interesting. So, you know, my thing about the anthology stuff is they don't really do that too much right now in movies. They kind of do and they kind of don't. The only, I could be, you know, like, I don't know every single horror movie ever made out there, okay? But I've seen a lot of, like, newer ones. And the only, like, horror anthology style movie that I can remember is the style where you do, like, you have multiple stories going on within the same story, but then they kind of collide together. Kind of like how Trick or Treat was.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's quite a few anthology movies. There's Trick or Treat. There's all the VHS movies.
Yeah.
Those are kind of anthology movies.
Yeah, those ones would count too, yes. That's what I was thinking, yes.
So, I mean, they don't really... I mean, they don't do it a lot, but I think anthology movies are kind of hard to do. It's actually... When I first started writing, I found out that, like, papers or anything, fiction, anything that I've ever had to write, I found it's actually harder to go shorter than it is to go longer.
Yeah.
It's really hard to write a succinct short story. Like, I feel like a novel would be way easier to write than a short story would be. Because you have to, like, get everything in and it can't be any longer than a certain length. Stephen King is a master of the short story. And he wrote most of these. I think 3 of these were based on his short stories.
The only thing he's not a master of, okay, is getting attacked by a meteor and turning into a swamp creature.
Oh man, yeah, I know you weren't a huge fan of his.
Wait till we get there. Like, I cannot believe okay, listen. I'm gonna tell everybody this, right? I don't think I've ever seen this CreepShow before. I mean, yeah, CreepShow. I know what CreepShow is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's, you know, CreepShow has a long history, though, so we'll talk a little bit about when we come to the Who Booked This Shit segment. But, you know, obviously, you know, I'm pretty, you know, I know CreepShow, you know, George Nicotero, you know, he works on The Walking Dead. They kind of brought the CreepShow back. I've watched a couple seasons on AMC and stuff. And I've seen CreepShow, I believe it's 2. But I was watching this shit, and I was like, you know what? Like, Like we got like Tom Akin, he just randomly shows up. I was like, well, I don't think I've ever seen any of this shit. And then next thing I know, I see the fucking hillbilly guy from Men in Black. Okay? And it's fucking Stephen King. I was like, why could my eyes were I was like, what is going on here? I'm like, this guy is like the most famous horror writer out there. And he's acting like a dumb hillbilly on here. I was like, what is going on here, man? Like, I just could not believe it. My mind was blown.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit more. When
who booked that shit? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, but yeah. So if I had known you had not ever seen this movie, I would have probably warned you about that segment. But it's kind of funnier that you went in cold. So
yeah, like the only thing I got spoiled to me was like when I was looking at some of the. I don't even say it was a preview because I try not. It's a movie that I haven't seen when I do for this podcast. I don't even watch the preview. But sometimes, like, I like to look at the release date because we have, like, extra stuff to talk about. And I figured out I had the guy from Naked Gun in here. What is it? What's his name? Nielsen?
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that could be fun. We've seen him in a horror movie before that we did on this podcast. Yeah. I believe it was it Prom Night? Which one was he in?
I was thinking it was Prom Night.
Yeah.
So it probably is.
Yeah, it's probably Prom Night. And, like, we saw him in a serious role. And, brother, I could not believe my eyes when I watched his scene too. I was like, what? This movie blew my mind. Okay. Like if you see these guys and like other stuff and you just watch this for the first time, your mind is blown. And I have a lot to talk about when we get to that scene too. But yeah, this one it's fun. I liked it. I liked the movie. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. The thing about Leslie Nielsen is he was really, I mean, to me, he's a comedy actor because I first saw him in comedies.
Yeah.
But to most people during most of his career, he was known as a very serious actor. And he didn't do any comedy until 1980 when he was in Airplane.
Interesting.
And he did Prom Night the same year.
Yeah.
But then so he was still probably, I guess, somewhat known as a serious actor when he did CreepShow in 1982.
Yeah,
and then he would become a comedy guy after he did Naked Gun. There's actually a really funny and really interesting monologue that he did when he hosted Saturday Night Live, where he talks about the difference between comedy acting and dramatic acting. And it's funny, but it's also really interesting because he says the same thing two different ways.
Yeah,
and he's like talking about how, well, the difference between drama and comedy is you can say it this way, and then if you say it this way, then people laugh.
Yeah.
And he does the same line two different ways, and people laugh at the comedy way, and it's really interesting. But yeah, he's an incredible actor.
Oh, incredible, man! He was so good in this movie.
The respect he deserves. Yeah,
bro, he saved this whole fucking movie. At least to me, he did.
Wow. Okay.
I thought he was the best part of the whole movie.
Well, I mean, he was great. Yeah. I mean, I love this movie. So I think we'll talk about it, but I think it's really over the top, but I think it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be made that way.
Yeah. I mean, I can kind of get what it was. It was like, like we're trying to, we had this popular horror magazine, CreepShow, because that was a real magazine at the time. And, we got to make it into a movie, so obviously we got to make it a little goofy, a little over the top, which is like, that's kind of like the CreepShow thing, though. Like, that is like their thing. That's like a lot of their stories, even nowadays, are like a little bit over the top. That's just the, you know what you're getting in when you turn on the movie. So. Yeah,
but I don't think that CreepShow was a real comic at the time. I think that it was based on the Tales from the Crypt and the Vault of Horror comics from the 50s.
Oh, okay.
That Stephen King would have liked, but
I thought it was a comic. Oh, maybe we'll look into.
I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about it as we go. I'll point out some things that obviously have to be directorial choices, and it's directed by George Romero.
Yeah, no, of all people,
George Romero directed this.
The fucking zombie king.
Definitely, the zombie king. It's definitely a departure for everybody involved in this.
Yeah. Very fascinating.
But Hal Holbrook looks like he's trying to act like the most dramatic role in history in the middle of all this like goofy bullshit that's going on around him.
Yeah, we'll get into it. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Right before we get into it, this series, I believe it happened. I don't know if the series started in the 80s, but too bad. But like Tales from the Crypt, that was probably my favorite like anthology series out there. And
that's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, that one, and then Channel Zero, I would say, is also another favorite one. But maybe we'll talk about that as the month goes on, because there's really good. I know we talked about some movies, but there's really good like anthology style like TV shows that are really good, So
yeah, and I think we should. I was about to say, I think you're right. I think we should talk about those as we go.
Yeah,
like like next week we'll bring up one or two more.
Yeah, maybe I'll talk about some of my favorite episodes from some. We'll do all that when we can. But let's get this show rolling. That's with some of our history segment, because we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the world of the pro wrestling on this episode here. So this movie got released November 12th, 1982. And it's kind of cool because we don't really do like that many like 1982 movies. So I was like doing this era. But unfortunately, we're not going to really be talking too much about the this era in pro wrestling, because this past week we actually had two tragic deaths in pro wrestling. Yeah. One being Ole Anderson, which, I mean, we've talked about him many times on this podcast, and a very prominent figure, especially within the 80s wrestling. Not only has a character, but also has a behind-the-scenes person as well, too. And, of course, the other one was Verrill, a.k.a. Mike Jones. And, we talked about him a little bit, but his main, character in the 80s was being Ted DiBiase's manager / servant guy. And, of course, his big triumph was when he actually couldn't take Ted DiBiase anymore, and he beat them all up. But I just want to take a couple of moments talking about these two, mostly the Ole Anderson, because just this guy is very fascinating, like his background and everything, and what he's done for wrestling. But being in one of the prominent tag teams of like the 70s going on into the 80s, the Anderson brothers. What do you know about the Andersons there, Alison?
What I know about the Andersons is basically what Arn talks about on his podcast when he's talking about his history. But so the original Andersons were Ole and Gene, right?
Yes. The Minnesota Wrecking Crew. What a great name.
The original Minnesota Wrecking Crew. That is an amazing name for a tag team.
Exactly.
But they Ole was the original Rock. They remember Arn used to call him Rock all the time. In the 80s. But so the Minnesota Wrecking Crew originally was Gene and Ole. And then I guess that broke up at some point in the 80s. And then they when Arn went to Georgia, or back to Georgia, he was, from my understanding from the story that he told, was that he was sent to meet Ole because he looked like he could be Ole's brother.
Yes. That's how they tagged, because they looked alike.
Right. So because they looked alike. So then because Arn Anderson basically looked like he was like in his 40s when he was 20 years old.
Yes.
Essentially. So when he met Ole was like, "Oh yeah, you're an Anderson," and then they became the new Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
Yeah,
which is the Minnesota Wrecking Crew that I know.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't remember him wrestling with Gene, but I do remember Ole and Arn as the Minnesota Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they would be, basically the Andersons, and they would always say that Ric Flair was like their cousin at first. Like before Ric Flair and all them joined the Four Horsemen, they always like had a relationship with Ric Flair. And then, of course, then when they all got together, that's when they came the Four Horsemen later on in the 80s, like 1988 and stuff like that.
Because Ole actually is from Minnesota, right?
Yes.
And so is Ric Flair.
Yes.
Arn is from Georgia.
Yes.
He's from Rome, Georgia. But I noticed that on the day he died, Ric Flair tweeted about it and still called him his cousin. Like he's still keeping that.
Still keeping that alive, brother. I like it.
Yeah, keeping that work alive. Yeah.
So with his wrestling and stuff, obviously he's mostly known as a tag team style wrestler. Very, very rugged style. What I mean by rugged is basically you're not going to go in there and have a bunch of holds. You're basically going to go in there and beat somebody up, and you target, because back in the day when we talk about these tag teams and stuff, especially like
Yeah.
bigger tag teams and mean tag teams, like the Anderson brothers or the Minnesota Wrecking Crew was. Their style basically was you get in there and you punch people and you go after a body part. Like you work on the leg, you work on the arm, you work on the head, the neck. That's what you do when you get in there. You know, I think the tag team with Tully and Arn is a little bit more well known, and I think people like that team a little bit more. But boy, like I saw some matches with the Arn and Ole, and first of all, they do look exactly like brothers. Okay, that is number one. Yeah. So that's an easy gimmick to like do, and they were great together. I thought they were great. You know, Ole was more of a he didn't really do a whole lot, but he was more like the brawler style. Kind of like the little brawler, but then he would focus on a body part a lot. So, but, you know, besides his wrestling career, and also being a great talker too, like that was also one of his strong points as well, was being a great promo. And he wasn't like the promo like you would get like some of these guys like shouting and stuff and saying brother, brother all the time. He'd be like more like a Jake Roberts style promo, very like softer tone, but like to the point, and then you could tell that he would get like mad, like he would kind of work his way up to the mad, being like mad, like calling people out and stuff, like, you know, his promos were just really good about like telling, you know, saying how much of an asshole he was, and the reason was because he really was an asshole.
Yes, well, that's what everybody says. Right?
Yes,
that he was just kind of a dick, and nobody really liked him for the most part, but yeah, he started off in the AWA. He was trained by Vern Gagne.
Yeah.
But then he would move on to Crockett in the 70s, I guess. And then I'm a little bit confused about parts of his career because he either booked or he owned Georgia Championship Wrestling, right?
Okay, so here's the story. So it's a little convoluted, but basically this is what happened. Jim Barnett and the Briscoes all had like a stake in Georgia Championship Wrestling. And basically, you know, like when Vince was like, you know, taking over and stuff, like, you know, they didn't want to sell to him. And basically, this is like the whole, we talked about a little bit before, but the Black Sunday thing happened.
Yeah, Black Saturday. Yeah.
Black Saturdays, yeah. And they took the time slot in there. And then basically Jim Crockett had to come and buy it back. All right, after a while, but then during all this stuff, like they basically got rid of Jim Barnett, and the Briscoes sold their shares. All right, and yeah, the rights to it and stuff.
Yeah,
and okay, so he was basically Ole was kind of like the booker. He was like the primary booker for that, and after that, for a time, and then when all that kind of stuff happened, he stopped being the booking, and then when Crockett, you know, bought everything, basically what happened was Ole, a short while he left Crockett, and he started to do his own Georgia Championship Wrestling on his own, Championship Wrestling from Georgia. He did that. And then after that, like it basically didn't, basically what he was trying to do is when he was doing like his own territory, it was losing so much money. Okay. And so what he did was he didn't really book a lot of like top stars. He mostly did like middle cards that way. And it did survive for a little bit, but then eventually it just couldn't, you know, do anything else. So basically what he did was he just morphed Georgia Championship Wrestling with Crockett, and that's, you know, part of the NWA, and that just became basically like the whole Mid-South.
Okay, so that makes more sense now, because I couldn't figure out why, if he was running his own territory, why he would, or even how he could wrestle for Crockett as a tag team, in a tag team. But it was really because he just basically needed the money, because his company, his territory at that time just wasn't making that much money, I guess, after Vince bought the original Georgia Championship Wrestling. And I think Crockett eventually bought the company that or the territory that he ran. Well, I think you just said that. Yeah, he just bought the territory that he ran.
Yeah, so basically it went down like this. So in July 1984, Jack Briscoe and Jerry Briscoe and Jim Barnett sold their shares of Georgia Championship Wrestling to Vince McMahon for that time slot, you know? Mm-hmm. So for like $9,000 to get rid of it. And that was what we talked about before here, Black Saturday, all right? The deal gave McMahon 90% stake in the promotion and control over the Georgia Championship Wrestling time slot, which is all Vince McMahon pretty much wanted anyway. He didn't really want Georgia Championship Wrestling. He just wanted the time slot. So he basically became like the majority owner. All right.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, like long story short, people in the South turned on WWF programming and they're like, what the hell is this boring shit? Okay.
Yes.
So the ratings tanked. Wait, I was going to ask you about that really quick too. Like, I don't want to make this like a 2-hour show, but we could just talk about this one subject. Just imagine that nowadays, Alison. Like that is like crazy to like a new wrestling fan, because that'd be like, if the WWF bought the Turner's time slot. You know what I mean? Off AEW or whatever. And then they start airing, Wednesday nights Nitro. Okay, WWF Wednesday Night Nitro instead of Dynamite. Do you think people would like turn it off because they're not seeing AEW?
Maybe. I mean, I see what you're trying. I see the point you're trying to make, but it's such a different time, and those two products aren't that different. Yeah. I mean, they're drastically different. I mean, AEW is drastically different than WWE.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that's different.
Yeah, I mean, they're drastically different, but they're not as different as WWE in 1984, or the WWF in 1984, and what you were getting with Georgia Championship Wrestling. Because it would be like going from, the difference would be like going from watching Dynamite on Wednesdays to watching the WWE cartoon from the 80s. It would be that different, because like Georgia Championship Wrestling was and what Crockett was doing was like hard hitting. There was blood. It was, it was just rough. It was just hard, realistic fight, what seemed like realistic fighting. Whereas then the next weekend, you got WWF's cartoon characters.
Yeah. That would be a shock.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
It would be shocking. Yeah, it would be shocking for these people to see this.
Because, like, at least now, like, if something, like, changes, we'll know in, like, an instant. Boom. Like, back in the day, brother, unless you're maybe reading The Observer or something, and that didn't even come out until, like, at the first of the month, it would have been, like, a totally shock for the audience that was following that particular wrestling. So
and you got to realize, too, that most people in the South probably weren't reading The Observer.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people were reading The Observer, the print version in the 80s, but most people in the South were, because you got to consider that, like, in the 70s and the 80s, like, in the South, wrestling was, like, serious.
Yeah.
Like, it was serious business. Yeah. I mean, like when my grandmother died, I mean, she thought that, the moon landing was fake and wrestling was real. I mean, these people, like, took this to heart.
Yeah.
There's a story about Ole getting stabbed in Greenville, South Carolina. Like people could actually get hurt if they weren't careful in wrestling then. So like, going from like something that looked realistic to something that looked like a cartoon would have been like shocking to these people. You know what I mean? Like if it just happened all of a sudden like that. But Ole moves into Crockett, and then he becomes.
Well, hold on. So here's how it.
Well,
basically,
skipping too far.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So basically, what happens is right when Ole resigns from then Georgia Championship Wrestling, he then joins forces with longtime NWA partner Fred Ward and Ralph Reed to start a new company called Championship Wrestling from Georgia. Oh, okay. Because remember, so like McMahon bought the Georgia Championship Wrestling time slot basically. And he named it World Championship Wrestling. All right, so the Georgia Championship Wrestling was something completely different. So what the TBS president Ted Turner did, he granted Championship Wrestling from Georgia the time slot of 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning time slot on TBS, which actually outperformed World Championship Wrestling in television ratings. Okay, The 60
Okay.
So the 7:30 a.m. time slot outperformed the 6:05 p.m.
Yeah, so more people were getting up at 7:30 in the morning to watch the show on a Saturday than watch the 6 o'clock show.
I could dig it.
That's crazy.
I could dig it.
I can too.
Maybe Collision should do that. You know what I mean? Fuck it, just get the shit out.
In the morning.
Yeah, 7:30. Get that shit out of the way.
Yeah, it's like true Ring of Honor style. Remember when Ring of Honor would be on like at 11 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the morning or something?
Yeah, or the old ECW.
Yeah, or the old ECW, and you watched it in the middle of the night. That's great.
So, Championship from Georgia promoted its first event in August 1984 and its final event in April 1985 when Anderson sold it to Jim Crockett. So, basically, that's what he did. So, after Georgia Championship Wrestling, basically, like I was saying before, since he didn't have that much money and they were at a loss, he started booking lesser talent. So then, once he kind of saw the writing on the wall, so that's when he merged the company with Jim Crockett, and then of course the rest is history from there. And he basically would be a booker for the territory with Crockett as well. So not only did he did some wrestling with Crockett, but he also would be he would help out with the booking as well. Same thing with Dusty, he would help out with the booking as well. So that's basically like his 80s run. His 80s run would always be remembered for booking Georgia Championship Wrestling during its heyday. And then, everybody else selling to Vince McMahon, but him not wanting to sell to Vince McMahon, him trying to do his own thing, not working out, merged with the Crockett promotion, and then became part of one of the most famous stables and probably the most famous wrestling stables in history, the Four Horsemen. So what a decade this guy had. And then, of course, in the 90s, he would kind of I would say he would fizzle out, but he wouldn't wrestle that much anymore. But then he would be known for the booker who would book Alison's favorite, the Black Scorpion.
Oh yeah, Black Scorpion that's a classic, man. You can't.
He would voice
one of the greatest.
Yes, he would voice the Black Scorpion, and he would book it. And of course, he was also the voice for the Shockmaster as well too. So there you go.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yep.
But yeah, so he did stay active, even though he kind of
behind the scenes he was mostly
kind of burned a lot of his bridges. But people just didn't. I think he was just kind of an unlikable person, much like myself. So I can probably relate to Ole a little bit.
Yeah, but I was if anybody's watching you'll see it from the Four Horsemen time period. He was definitely. I don't know if his Four Horsemen was everybody's favorite Four Horsemen, even though there were the original one, because basically he actually left the group after a while. That's when they brought in Lex Luger. I believe basically Ole kind of wanted to wind himself down from pro wrestling, and he wanted to start promoting his son more. Yeah. Right? But then, of course, he would come back and work a babyface against the Four Horsemen a little bit, and then he would join the Four Horsemen again in the 90s. That's when they would turn on Sting. And then he would just kind of fizzle out from there. So, but yeah, definitely a very interesting figure. If you guys never seen Ole Anderson, you listen to our wrestling reviews, I definitely recommend checking out some of his stuff, especially if you all like the hard hitting, angry old guy, get off my lawn, fucking this asshole dude. Because he played the character. There was no character. He's kind of like an Eddie Kingston. There was no character. That was him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just who he was. Yeah, exactly like Eddie Kingston. That's who Eddie Kingston is. But yeah, I love. That original version of the Four Horsemen is my favorite. Yeah, because that's just the first Four Horsemen I saw. But I can just remember them
breaking Dusty's arm and
breaking Dusty's arm. I've talked about that with you, and I've taken you to the spot. We went to the spot where that happened.
Yeah. That was awesome.
I'm such a nerd about that I showed you the video of it as we're driving down, following the way that went. But I just remember them doing Arn and Ole would do promos together, and Arn would do his promo, and then he would just say "Tell him about it, Rock," and then Ole would just go straight into his promo. It was amazing. I loved that shit. My mind was blown as a small child watching that. It was incredible.
So there's something that I saw a little bit of it before, and I thought it was awesome, because Ole Anderson and Dusty Rhodes actually had a very big, blood feud when it comes to when they were wrestling in, I believe it was GC, the Georgia Championship Wrestling. And there was like an angle that I thought was so creative when I heard about it. And I kind of want to go back and watch it. But it was basically like, Ole was kind of a bad guy, but then he would start to help out Dusty a lot. Like he started like, being more of a good guy, helping out Dusty, tagging with people that Dusty liked and everything. Mm-hmm. And then he got him out of a comfortable position one time, and then he turned on him. All right. And then he did this promo saying, yes, I was friends with this guy. I didn't like him at all. I was friends with this guy. I didn't like him at all either. He sucked too. And I did it all just to beat you and do this to you. And I was like, damn, this guy. He was like basically like, it's kind of like an 80s villain. He was telling his whole plan of how he tricked Dusty throughout this whole time. So, but yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You got to explain it.
Yeah.
Got to explain it to the people like the James Bond villain.
Got to do it, brother. But rest easy there, Ole. This guy, obviously he's a little controversial figure when it comes to certain people. He kind of rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way. But you got to see, like, this guy in the 80s, man. I mean, he was a very prominent figure, especially when it comes to wrestling, not only as an on-screen person, but as a booker as well, too. You know what I mean? He booked probably like a lot of great matches and feuds, so.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the greats. Whether people liked him or not, he was definitely one of the greats.
Definitely. And of course, we'll still talk about him here and there on the Retro Blood, but I just want to talk a little bit of him since he passed away, so. But Alison, I think we got some metal over here as well too. This band's kind of interesting. I never heard of him before. Me and you were kind of are both first-time viewers of this band, Talas. What are they called?
Talas.
Talas.
Yeah.
Talas, brother. Sink your teeth into that. It came out in 1982. Didn't really give me a release date, so we're just going to go for November. But I know you know a little bit about him. What did you know about him?
Basically, Talas is like one of those. What's the word I'm looking for? They're one of those bands that people in bands like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like they're a band that other musicians like. Yeah. So basically, Talas is probably most famous. They were a Los Angeles band, very early hair metal, I guess you could say. But they were around with Racer X and that scene with Paul Gilbert and Racer X. But they were known for being the band that Billy Sheehan was in before he joined David Lee Roth's band after David Lee Roth left Van Halen. His solo band consisted of Billy Sheehan on bass and Steve Vai on guitar. And I can't remember who the drummer was off the top of my head. Greg Bissonette, maybe? Anyway, can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, Billy Sheehan left Talas to join David Lee Roth's solo band, which basically doomed Talas. That was kind of the end of that for them. But Billy Sheehan is one of the best bass players to ever live, especially in the hard rock and metal world. Yeah, he's still playing bass to this day. He's still in bands. He's playing in a band called the Winery Dogs. He's doing a lot of stuff. Just incredible. He's in Mr. Big with Paul Gilbert. Just an incredible bass player. Talas is like one of those. They're really good. The little bit of Talas that I've heard basically consists of the song that they record. So David Lee Roth recorded a Talas song on his first solo album, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. Talas actually got back together in 2022 and released an album after 37 years. They got back together. Their singer has passed away, but they used vocals that he had recorded before he died, and that came out a couple of years ago. Let's see.
Yeah, so while you're doing that, when I'm looking up here, it looks like the drummer was Paul Verga.
Of Talas.
Of Talas, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and then
who was the guitar player for Talas?
The guitar player, let's see. Guitarist is Dave Constantino.
Yeah, Dave Constantino. Yeah, so they were like a really talented, technically great band. They were probably one of those bands that was like too talented for the mainstream, which is why they kind of were an underground band for a while. And then Shy Boy, that's the name of the Talas song.
That's on this album, Shy Boy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that. Billy Sheehan wrote that, and that was a song that they recorded on David Lee Roth Edelman's Smile album, which was like for his solo album. But yeah, Talas is an incredible band.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's one of those bands that I like to talk about bands like that because it's a band that would be forgotten if people didn't continue to bring them up. So I want to be a voice that, that mentions these bands that people don't listen to much.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Anymore. Like they do have the sound kind of like the Riot, all right, a little bit like kind of like that. It's like a rock and roll, but you could tell there's a little bit of the hair metal in there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got a little bit of mixture, but you could tell like they're very solid. Very solid rock and roll band. You can put in the track into the Trans Am. Get your hair down a little bit, brother. Grab that Budweiser. You know what I mean? Get that Magnum TI fucking stash. You know what I mean? With the fucking huge sunglasses that take up half your face. You know what I'm talking about, everybody.
Exactly. Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. A little bit. They're a little bit Van Halen. They're a little bit Van Halen like, I would say.
Very Van Halen. Yeah. So, but they got some good tracks on here. We'll probably place them at the end over here. I like their name. Some of their names are fun. High Speed on Ice. Okay.
Oh wow.
Never Seen Me Cry. All right. Hit and Run. Okay. Outside Looking In. I don't know, that one cracked me up. But yeah, the album cover looks badass too. It's like this like fucking it's an AI image before AI images were formed. It's like kind of like the Medusa snake skull thing.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out what that is. That's a cool album cover, but it's probably a sculpture. It's probably a photograph of a sculpture that they.
It's like an 80s moon in the background. But yeah, this is definitely an AI image before AI images were a thing. So.
Yeah, as it was used to be known, actual art.
Yes, exactly, actual art. So, but everybody check it out. Check it out. They, like you're saying before, Alison, I like these bands where like your favorite bands like these bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because they take a lot of inspiration by some of these maybe like not well-known bands, but there's some of these good bands out there that nobody's heard about, and they sound great, fantastic. So, but this band, unfortunately, they only last for a little bit. It looks like they actually disbanded in the 80s too, like 1988. Looks like when they disbanded. So,
yeah, like I was saying, after Billy Sheehan left, they just kind of gradually went downhill for sure.
Yeah. But everybody, we'll place them at the end of the show. But let's keep this train moving, brother, because let's talk about who booked this shit. Fuck. Bro, this is a weird movie because it was booked by George A. Romero. He directed the shit.
It was.
And this shit was written by Stephen King. All right, making his screenwriting debut.
Yep.
And I was like,
also his acting debut, I believe.
What did he book it? Did he write himself to act like that?
He did. So actually, I believe so. In the making of that's on the Blu-ray, I'm pretty sure that Tom Atkins.
Yeah.
I believe Tom Atkins said that he wanted to play that role. It was either Tom Atkins or Hal Holbrook said that he wanted to play that role. And they said, well, we've already got that promise. Stephen wants to play that role himself. So yeah, Stephen King booked himself in that role. He wrote that for himself to play, and he did it on purpose. He wanted it to be that way. Like he did that on purpose. So yes,
I got a question for you. Is this his like? So you said this was his acting debut?
I believe it is. Yes.
Did he ever act after this? Because boy, it was rough.
He was in Pet Sematary. He played the priest in Pet Sematary.
Oh yeah, like a small role. Yeah,
a very small role, but no, he never had a role. I don't know that he ever had a role this big again. But I think that he wanted it to be silly. He wanted it to be funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was in. Yeah, he had a bunch of small roles. He's kind of like what's his name, Alfred Hitchcock. Like he has a small role in a lot of his movies, but this is the only one that I can think of where he's like really, where he's like the star. And there's good reason for that. When the people watch it, they will see. But I mean, I think that he's basically just channeling Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, like
this is what Stephen King thinks that a backwoods hillbilly is like. Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Well, that's probably where he was going through at the time. But what he reminded me of is, remember the first Men in Black?
Yeah.
Where he had the hillbilly dude that got the fucking alien stuck in his head or whatever. I mean, they acted just exactly alike. So I'm guessing.
Well, that's true.
Whoever wrote and Men in Black were like, you know what? This fucking Stephen King played the perfect hillbilly, brother. Let's put it in the movie. All right? That's what he did. But
that's exactly what hillbillies are like.
So a couple little things. You were right though. Like I was wrong. This CreepShow was not a real comic book. I thought it was, but it was supposed to pay homage to the ones that you were talking about from the 50s. Mm-hmm. Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Horror, and The Haunt of Fear. I don't know why I thought it was actual. Well, I think later on it could probably became a comic book, but at this time it wasn't. It was just paying homage to them. So in order for the film to give viewers the comic book feel, Romero hired long-time effects specialist Tom Savini to replicate comic-like effects.
Comic-like effects.
Yes. All right.
I thought Savini did really well with the bugs.
Yeah, the bugs were good, and I'm pretty sure he did the dead old angry cake guy. That one was good.
Oh, too. Yeah, that looked great, too. Yeah, that looked great as well.
So, there's 5 stories in here, okay? Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about all 5, and then we're going to rate all 5. I'm going to give my top 5 that I liked, and Alison, you can give your top 5. We might be on the same... we might have the same list, but that'd be fun at the end to see.
Maybe. So we're just going to rank them in order that we like them.
Yes. Like which one we like which one we like the best, which one we like the least. So, so it had Father's Day, okay, which is the first one. The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, based on King's short story Weeds. All right. Mm-hmm. Something to Tie You Over. The Crate, and They're Creeping Up on You. So the 2 of these stories were adapted from King's short stories, with the film booked in by prologue. It had a beginning and ending scenes. That's what we see Tom Atkins with the young boy and stuff. So that's pretty fun.
So I was about to say the young boy is played by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son.
Oh, okay. They're all over this shit. Huh?
He's a successful author now. He writes some really good horror stories now. But yeah, this was him playing the son of Tom Atkins in CreepShow.
But when I saw him on here, I was like, yes. And then he barely did anything. I was like, damn it. And I think this is and also too, I don't know if this is rarity, but this is the first movie I've seen him in where he wasn't a sex idol. All these fucking movies I see Tom Atkins in, he's a sex idol in the 80s. I mean,
yeah, like in Halloween 3. Yeah,
Halloween 3, he's just trying to bang everybody. All right.
Yeah, he was in this. According to the documentary, he was in this because he knew George Romero.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, that's
he
cool.
kind of did it as a favor.
Yeah. So, in keeping with Romero's tradition of filming in and around the Pittsburgh area, most of the film was shot in an empty all-girls school located outside Greensboro, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. The school was converted into a film studio, and the episodes for The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill and They're Creeping Up on You, as well as the beginning and the ending, were filmed in their entirety at the former school. Filming took place in Greensburg location throughout 1981.
Yeah, so basically, it was all shot inside a gym. So every interior scene that you see was shot inside that gym, as far as I understand. So, like in the like in the apartment scenes, all the in the house scenes, that was all built inside a gym that this girls' school had.
That's cool. And then so CreepShow was actually given a 4-week test release in Boston during July 1982 to get the sense of how the movie would do, and it got highly successful. Warner Brothers knew they had a hit on their hands, so they made a worldwide release on November 12th, 1982. And its opening weekend, CreepShow grossed over $5 million. So, not too bad, man. But definitely,
not too bad.
Yeah, definitely a big old hit there. And of course, you know, after this movie, we would have many stuff from CreepShow. I mean, we have a sequel that we're actually going to be doing next week here on the Retro Blood, and then of course we have the kind of like the rebirth of CreepShow. If you all go to Shudder, and they actually have a TV show out there now, and I believe that might even be on their 4th season by now.
Yeah, I feel like the TV show. There's actually a CreepShow 3, but I've never seen it. It came out in the 2000s, right. I think.
Yes.
I've never seen that, but nobody involved in the original had anything to do with the third one. But I feel like the CreepShow TV show has the same kind of feel as this movie does.
Yes. Yeah, because yeah, I mean they do the same kind of things when it comes to like the when we're transitioning from story to story, we have those little, you know, we show like little comic book scenes, or we transition them into like comic books, and then we kind of like we're turning the page on the comic books. That's how the movie feels, and that's how the TV show does it as well too. So the TV show, how it's formatted. Have you ever seen any episodes, Alison, or no?
Yeah, I've seen some from the first season. I'm really bad at watching TV shows. I get way behind on them.
I gotcha. So, like, basically how the TV show, I watched, like, the first 2 seasons. I'm kind of behind on the newer CreepShow. But basically what it is, it's like on one episode, it's about, like, 45 minutes, and there's about 2 stories per episode. And it's filmed like that, where you got the little opening scene with, like, the creep ghost, and he kind of, like, takes you into the actual comic book. And then you kind of go from page to page, and then we end with some sort of shocker. That's when we transition it into the animated comic book scene. Then we go on to the next story. So, but it's not bad. I like it. There's not every episode, you know, it's fantastic, but it's, you know, very, very similar to how this movie's flow is on there. And they actually have a pretty cool Christmas special too. So everybody, check that out there. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable, like, seeing, like, the talent that's, like, associated with this film that we talked about. I mean, we got, like, George A. Romero here. We got Stephen King writing everything here. I mean, we got fucking Fritz Weaver over here acting crazy, like we talked about. Leslie Nielsen on here. Tom Savini. Ted Danson.
Tom Savini's in it. Yeah, Ted Danson. Hal Holbrook. I mean, that guy's a real actor. You know, like, this was not like Ted Danson was kind of starting his career around this time. He wasn't in Cheers yet. Cheers would come out in the fall. Actually, I guess if this movie came out in November, Cheers would come out in the fall of 1982. So people might know who he was from being on that TV show, but this was filmed a year before he was in Cheers.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, before we get into the movie, do you have anything else for the DVD or anything that you wanted to say?
No, I mean, basically, I mean, there was nothing weird and controversial about it other than Stephen King insisting on playing the Jordy Verrill part. But yeah, that's about. I mean, we covered all the interesting, all the weird and interesting stuff that I knew about the making of this. But basically, they just wanted it to look like a comic book, and that's why they gave it all those like weird, like not weird, but like really bright red and purple lights. Yeah. In the episodes, like that would it would look kind of like garish, like a comic book would look. But yeah, we covered most of the making of that, I believe.
Yeah. So before we get into me, I thought this was really cool, just because I'm a big fan of this place. So and I super mad that I missed this. So on August 3rd, 2019, Universal Destinations and Experience announced that CreepShow will be coming to Halloween Horror Nights exclusively at the Universal Studio Hollywood theme park. The maze featured 3 segments from the 1982 movie, as well as 2 others from the newly made web television show on Shudder. Damn it. That would have been fucking awesome, bro.
Oh, that would have been really awesome.
Oh, they should have kept that house. I would have been like, I wonder which one they would have. I'm guessing just by scenery purpose, you could probably do the bug one and then maybe the crate. That's the ones I think.
The crate would have been easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, now, yeah, but yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, I like how Halloween Horror Nights does that, like homage to some 80s movies here and there. So that's pretty sweet. But everybody, let's get on to this. Let's get on to the first CreepShow, 1982. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Coming soon. Jolting tales of horror. CreepShow. From the author of Carrie, The Shining, and Cujo. And the creator of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. You'll scream at ghastly ghouls. Cringe at weird kids. And shiver at the doings of evil doctors.
This is going to be extremely painful, Mr. Verrill.
CreepShow will grab you, grow on you, and give you the creeps.
No, this is going to be an entirely new experience.
CreepShow, the most fun you'll ever have being scared.
All right, so we're starting it off, and like right away, like I thought they were like spoofing Halloween, because we got like the house with the little pumpkin thing on there.
Yeah,
and you basically just hear Tom Atkins yell at this kid, and he's basically yelling at his like son for his son loving comic books.
Yeah,
like reading comic books, they're gonna rot your brain and stuff, and he's basically just being an asshole. All right, but then like it's weird because I think they were trying to like. It seemed like it was like a Halloween backstory for a little bit, you know.
Okay.
Well, you remember it kind of reminded me, you know how like in that Rob Zombie Halloween movie we had like the kind of like the backstory of Michael Myers that not a lot of people liked, but I thought it was fine. You know, like we had the abusive dad and everything, and everybody was a fucking ass. So that's where the guy came in there and killed his dad. I mean, I'm just saying, CreepShow might have done it first.
They did. They definitely did it first.
So, and that's when the creep guy shows up and he smiles and the kid smiles, and that's when we get our first story, which is the cake man himself. What's it called? The Father's Day. Okay.
Yeah. I really like the animated intro. Credits.
Definitely. So.
That was awesome.
Yeah. They have a lot of cool like animated like scenes throughout this movie that made it like super cool. So this story is basically about this whole family. They're kind of sitting around at their house and stuff, and they're talking about I believe it was like their grandpa and stuff died, and they're basically sitting there and they're kind of waiting for the it's either the sister or like the grandmother. They're waiting for somebody this older lady come in there to tell them about the will.
Sister.
The sister.
She's the
that's
older
what
sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the older sister. They're waiting for her to get there so they can like let everybody know about the will that the old man had for everybody, and this is when we see the this guy. So we have the sister. She was an older lady. I could barely understand anything that she was saying. She talked so fucking fast. Okay, and we had I believe his name was Hank. Okay, And he was played by Ed Harris. Do you know who Ed Harris is, by chance?
Of course. Yeah. Ed Harris is a very famous actor now. It wasn't so famous then, but he was a very, very famous actor.
Like, I know he was on Apollo 13 and all that stuff, but I was looking at this guy and I was like, okay, I know he was from that movie. I know. And then I was like, doing my research. I was like, no shit, that's the fucking guy from Westworld. He was like the fucking William, the black, the guy with the black hat and shit. I was like, fuck, bro. And he looked, I was like, man, you know what? This guy, he aged pretty well. You know what I mean? You can kind of still tell all his features and everything. He doesn't. I was like, that's pretty cool. I never seen him younger
he's been in
before.
a bunch of movies. Yeah, he was in Apollo 13. He was in The Abyss. He was in Truman Show. A bunch of stuff. Great actor.
And he's married to Cass, which is the daughter of the younger sister. And then they also have the brother, all right, there too. And the brother was all like saying how basically what happened was with the older sister, all right, her husband died, and they think it wasn't really an accident. It was actually the dad who killed her the older guy. I think the guy's name is Peter, all right. And then he said, like, basically the younger sister, she went crazy after a while, and she killed him with this ashtray. That's like a metal style ashtray.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get like flashbacks about what happened, because this is when we see the younger sister. She's like crying and going to the grave of her dad because it's on Father's Day. I guess they all meet every Father's Day or something. And we get this huge flashback of this fucking old guy just going crazy. Like, it's Father's Day. I want my cake. Where's my cake? Where's my cake? And he just kept saying over and over and over again. And this girl's like, she's like freaking out. There's like a maid there. She's freaking out too. And eventually she couldn't handle it that much anymore. So she whacked his ass down with the fucking tray. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically killed him. Now, how did she get away with this murder? I have no idea. We didn't really get that explained. All right. He just died, and she was crying about it, and then she was just like, everything was cool until you killed Peter and stuff. And she's like, I'm not going to give you your cake. You don't deserve a cake. All right. And the next thing I know, he comes out of the grave. All right.
Yeah. And apparently one thing you didn't mention is they apparently buried him in the yard of the house.
Yes, that's right.
So he's not in a cemetery.
Maybe that's why they got,
in the yard.
So, in this universe, we could just bury people in the yard and still get their will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can do that, I mean, you can bury someone anywhere you want to.
But then you're still going to have the cop be like, well, how did he die? Well, I don't know. It wasn't this ashtray that was right here that we still have.
It certainly was not this ashtray with blood on it.
So he comes out like, okay, so I'm not sure how long he's been dead for. Like maybe a year, I guess.
No, he's been dead a long time.
Oh, it's been a while? Okay.
Well, no, not necessarily. My understanding was that he was... I don't know. Because they make it sound like it's been many, many years.
Yeah.
Because they say that she shows up at exactly the same time every year.
Okay.
Remember what they're saying that, and then they hear a car pull up, and they're saying that she shows up. You can set your watch by it. She shows up exactly the same time every year. I don't think they're waiting on the will. I think they just meet every Father's Day.
Oh, okay. Because, like I said, I don't know where they found this fucking sister, like the mom to everybody. I could not understand what she was saying. I thought they were there to get some will or something, but I guess maybe they're just there to meet her to talk to her or something.
I think they meet up every Father's Day.
Yeah.
At his house. But she was played by Vivica Lindfors, who was like an old actress. Like she was like an actress in like the 40s.
Yeah.
And they brought her out of basically retirement to play this role. And apparently, because she smokes a cigar through the entire movie, and that was like something she insisted upon.
Well, yeah, man, her fucking voice is so deep. Hey, brother. But yeah, so also too, I guess the dad was kept calling the other girl bitch as well too. a lot too.
Yeah.
Because she's like, I'm not no bitch. And then he gets out of the grave and he captures her. All right. So now we got Hank and Cass. They're like dancing and stuff. And they don't know where the girl is at. Like the sister was named Sylvia. They don't know where Sylvia is at. She's like, missing and stuff. So Hank goes out there to kind of like look around for him and stuff, and he notices like there's like the grave right there. Like it was kind of like messed up a little bit. So he goes near there and he finds like the liquor bottle that she was drinking, and then something pushes him down. And then when he notices, he notices that Sylvia's body falls right onto him. And Alison, did you know this? And everybody, that when you're an angry, rich, old guy who wants his cake and you turn into a flesh-eating zombie, that you now have Jedi powers because you can manipulate the tombstone that you came out of to fall on somebody's head from a mile away.
Well, yeah, you might as well. You might as well be able to do that.
Because you can do that, because that's what he did.
Yeah, if you can defeat death, you can pretty much do anything you want.
Yeah. So he used his Jedi powers to push the tombstone on top of Hank's head, and there he goes. And then now Cass and the brother and the mom are all like, they don't know where Hank is. The brother said he doesn't like Hank. He doesn't care. And then eventually the mom says, I'll go look for him. He was acute. So the mom goes, looks for him. She goes into the kitchen. She notices all this stuff is cooking in the kitchen. And then next thing you know, she turns around. She's the maid right there. And she's all like freaking out. And then we can see that the dead zombie old man is in the house. So now, Cass and the brother, like, they don't know where the mom or anybody's at. So they go into the kitchen, and then out pops the fucking dad with his daughter's head on a plate. I believe it was the Belinda. That's the one that we're talking about with the smoking. He's on there, and he's like, I now have my cake. And then we end it.
Yeah, they should have gave him his cake when he wanted it.
Exactly. All this guy wanted was some cake, brother. That's all he needed.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all he wanted.
They had to kill him with an ashtray. All right. So this one was okay. It was, besides me not really understanding what anybody was saying because they talked 1,000 miles an hour, it was, I thought it was pretty good. So next up, so remember that's everybody, that's number one. Okay, so
number one.
Next up we have the Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. Oh, God. Oh, yes. So the first scene, I was like, okay, Men in Black totally ripped this off because we have a meter fall. We had this dumb hillbilly guy finding his meter. And I was looking at him, I was like, okay, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. I like literally paused it. I was like, that guy looks fucking familiar. What is it? Next thing I know,
you didn't even know that was going to be Stephen King in that part?
No.
Until you watched it?
Until I watched it, okay. I was like, oh, actually, I hear what I did. I know what I did now. So I had to rent this shit off Amazon Prime. All right?
Yeah.
So, like, I paused it. And then, like, the cool thing you can do on Prime is, like, sometimes when you pause it, it will let you know who's acting in the scene. And I paused it, and I was like, what? I was like...
That must have been amazing. Like,
and the only thing,
I would love to have seen your face when that happened.
The only thing I could think about when I was watching this shit was, first of all, it reminded me of Men in Black, like the stupid fucking hillbilly guy from Men in Black. And then I was just like, wait a minute. You're telling me that the all-star king of horror writing himself, Stephen King, who's been...
Yep.
Fucking, this guy has made so many stories on horror. It's not even funny. I mean, like Silver Bullet, 1,000 stories were ripped off from Stephen King to turn into. This guy's like a fucking horror legend, and you're telling me he's playing a dumb, very bad acted redneck? What is going on here, brother? Is this a rib? All right.
I think it is a rib. I mean, he intended for this to be a comedy. Like, it's supposed to be funny.
Oh fuck! It was bad. I mean, I'm sorry, it was bad.
I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. Like, I laughed. Like, when they're talking about when he tries to go sell the meteor to the Department of Meteors at the college.
Yes.
Man, it's just fucking funny.
So, anyway, So he has these fantasies about him selling this meteor. And the guy, he wants $200, but the guy wants to give him $75. He wants to give him 75. All right. And he is all like, well, maybe I can pay off the bank loan that I have on this farm.
The $200 bank loan.
I got. Well, maybe was it more than $200? It was something. Okay.
No, it was $200. Like that's what he says he wants, and the guy only wants to give him 50.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I want $200.
So he wants to.
And he's like, I'll give you 75.
So, but this is all like it's in his head though. Like he's just making the deals in his head.
Yeah, he never leaves his house.
Yeah, doesn't leave
the whole episode. He's the only actor other than the Department of Meteor scene. He's the only actor in this entire thing.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, well, I need to pour some water on this because it's too hot to put in the bucket. So he pours water on it. All right, and then he can kind of notice that his finger has a little like, when you burn your finger, you get like little pus come out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has that on his finger too. So he pours the water on the meter, and it splits open, and it's like this blue liquid, and he thinks he fucks up. And then
that's what he like he has that whole like, oh, tarnation or whatever he says. He calls himself a lunkhead or whatever. Like he's just like like the most like, I mean, he's basically, like I said earlier, he's basically just Jethro from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yes. So he thinks he's all fucked up. Now he has to like, he thinks in his head, okay, or what I can do to get this better, and maybe they're not going to take as much money for it, but maybe they'll at least take something. Yeah. And then I could not believe my eyes when I saw this as well too. Okay, he goes back into his house, and we have WWF wrestling on from Madison Square Garden. We have the champion Bob Backlund versus Sika from the Wild Samoans.
Classic.
Madison Square Garden with Vince McMahon's voice all over this shit. I was like, what is going? And like, it's like the whole match, the whole commentary match, okay, of Vince McMahon saying all these words and stuff. I was like, what is going on here? Okay, and he's like watching and stuff. And there's two things going through my head at this particular moment. Yeah. First was, I can't believe, like, that's super cool that this horror movie that's going to be watched by millions of people is going to have this really cool, like, Madison Square Garden match between, of all people, Bob Backlund and Sika.
Well, he was a champion.
Yeah, at the time, yeah. And we're going to hear, and another my thought was, boy, we have Vince McMahon's voice going on. This ain't going to fly in nowadays.
No, that's why I wanted a physical copy of this, so they can't take it away from me. Yeah. They can't overdub, Triple H's voice, whatever, over a new version of the movie. And
then I was thinking, wait a minute, like, this is good and bad for wrestling. It's good because it's like, I think wrestling fans would be like, oh shit, like, I kind of like seeing, like, wrestling stuff in movies. But then again, like, it also shows like, oh, only dumb hillbilly rednecks watch wrestling in their fucking dumb cabin and shit. Like, so like I said,
only dumb. Yeah, I was gonna say only dumb rednecks like us watch wrestling, right?
Yeah. Does that mean we're fucking Jordy over here, brother?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I'm a dumb redneck. I don't know about you. I mean, you're from Texas, so you could qualify as well. But and it is a little bit offensive in that way because you can tell that they picked wrestling because they wanted, Jordy to be a dumb redneck.
Yeah, and then
dumb rednecks watch wrestling.
Yeah, but they picked the wrong one too. They picked WWF. I mean, come on, put some. Come on, we just talked about Georgia Championship Wrestling. Put some of that shit on there.
Yeah, put some of that shit on. But, I mean, they were all from up north. I mean, they were filming this in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, so they were watching WWF.
And I do like it, too, like, just as a wrestling fan, like, there was one scene where, like, Bob Backlund did a pile driver, and McMahon doesn't even, like, call the moves. He's like, oh, look at that. It's over now.
Yeah, it's over now.
Well, okay. So now, like, our boy Jordy, he's noticing that some shit is like growing green, and he thinks he kind of fucked up a little bit. So now he wakes up, all right, and he has more green on him, like he's starting to grow like a little green all over his face and stuff. And there's like a TV on with this old lady in the background talk about like plants and stuff in the background, and So now he I don't know, Jordy's like this crazy. He thinks that he fucked up everything. So he keeps saying, no, this can't be happening. All this green is everywhere. He tries to drink something. All right. And everything just starts growing.
Itching too.
Yeah, so
he starts itching.
And everything
and
starts
then he notices all these plants are growing all over his house.
Yeah. So the only part I laughed during this is when he ran into the bathroom and he took off his pants. He looked down. I was like, "Oh no, not there!" I like that.
Ha ha ha!
That was the only funny
humor.
Part. Oh, speaking of, he wasn't all alone. Remember, we had his dead ghost dad.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, so there was one other actor in this. Yeah.
And he's basically dead. The dead ghost dad was saying, "Hey, you better not jump into that tub, or else you'll really regret it." All right.
So what does he do immediately?
First it was all like, "Oh, I thought you died a little while ago." Interesting. All right. He says, "You don't go in there. Don't jump in that tub, or else you're definitely gonna regret it in the morning time." And he's like, "Okay." Well, he jumps in the tub anyway because he can't handle it.
Yep.
All right. And then the next morning we get this newscast about this this farmer newscast, and we see that everything is basically green. Like everything is all just green, leaves, weeds everywhere. And our boy Jordy has turned into a weed Sasquatch monster creature. All right. And he can't take it, so he can't take his form, so he shoots himself. All right.
Yep, blows his brains out with a shotgun.
And next thing we know, we get a forecast saying it's going to rain all over Castle Rock, and it's going to make this place look all green. So I guess we're led to believe that when it rains, the whole weed virus is going to spread throughout the whole town. Yeah,
and that was really cool. That might be the first time on film that the term Castle Rock was used.
Yes.
So Castle Rock is a Stephen King invented town, essentially. And he uses it in a lot of his, one of his stories. So this might be the first time that we've talked about that Castle Rock was talked about in a movie, even though he used it in his books a lot.
Yes.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So, but yeah, then we go from there. I kind of like the ending a little bit because it has like a little deeper, creepier meaning.
It starts. It's weird because it starts off like so goofy and funny, and it has this really dark ending.
Yeah. So very interesting there. So our third story. Okay, something to tide you over, brother. Okay, yeah. This one was pretty intense.
Tide. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we start off the story with Harry. He's sleeping at his little house, and then he gets visited by this guy named Richard. All right, and at first Harry doesn't want to let him in, but Richard's like, "You're gonna have to let me in. I know where Becky is." And basically what's going on is Becky and Richard were married, but Harry slooped up in there and started to bang her out. All right.
Yep.
And then Richard found out, and now he's pissed. And Harry's like, "Well, we were gonna tell you and stuff. She just doesn't want to handle you anymore." And he's like, "You probably didn't even like her anyway." And Richard's like, "Listen, that's not the point. She is my property. All right.
Yes.
And I don't want to lose my property." And I was like, "Oh shit!" So basically, our boy Richard, he's paid by the Lisa Nielsen. And this guy was, he did a pretty good job of playing like the crazy, asshole dude. Like I thought he did a really good job in this film.
I agree.
So basically, he's like, "Listen, you're gonna have to come with me, and if you want to see Becky, because I have her." All right. And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I was like, "Yes, we have to go. We're gonna go visit Becky. I'll take you to her and stuff. She's with me." Okay. And he at first is like Harry doesn't believe her. Then he plays recording, and it actually is Becky saying, "Help me, I need your help." And then Harry's like, "What the fuck, man? What are you doing here, Richard?" And then they eventually go. He like takes him with him to his beach house. All right, his beach. So apparently our boy Richard owns his own beach. All right.
Well, yeah, he's a millionaire. He's
Yeah.
a multi-millionaire.
Pleasant Clove. All right, brother. All right. So now they so now he takes him on the beach, and now he's like, okay, follow me over here. I'm gonna take you to her. And they're going through all throughout. They're all like on the actual beach right now. Taking them all throughout the beach, and they go to where the water's at, and they see a little hole there. He's like, hey, she's in that hole there. It's like, what the hell's, like, you know, Harry's like getting pissed, like, what the hell are these tricks you're doing and stuff. He's like, there's no tricks and stuff, you know, just go check out the hole. And there's nothing in the hole. And then Richard's like, do you see how the tide comes in there and stuff, even though it's like buried in the ground? Isn't that amazing? Foreshadowing stuff that we see. And then he pulls a gun on him. He's like, you got to get in the hole now. He's like, I'm not going to get in the hole. You can rather just shoot me. He's like, no, you're going to get in the hole. And I'm just going to, you know, just bury yourself now. He's like, no, I'm not going to bury myself. He's like, well, if you want to see Becky at all, you're going to have to bury yourself in here. All right. And then I'll swear I'll bring her to you. So he buries himself in there, and his head's like sticking up by it. And this is when Richard leaves. All right, and he leaves him there for a little bit. There's like a crab right there about to stab him and stuff. And Richard, he's just taunting him the whole time. You know, very creepy stuff. And next thing you know, Alison, he brings out like a TV hooked up to a VCR out there on the beach.
So my question is, do they ever explain how this is being powered?
I think it was powered by his Jeep battery. That's the only thing I can
By
think
his
of.
Jeep battery. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
That's the only thing
Fair
I can
enough.
think of.
We'll take that. We'll take that, I guess, as an answer.
So he shows him a recording, and he did the exact same thing to Becky. So he lured her out there and put her on, and buried her in the sand right next to the tide.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then he buried him right next to the tide, and he made her watch as she was, you know, being sucked up by bottom. And he kept saying, he's like, you think you could do it? How long can you hold your breath? Can you even hold your breath? All right, how are you gonna do it? You can't do it. It's like, and then like, you know, they're like fighting back and forth with each other, and then he eventually like leaves because, you know, Harry thought he was just going to you know, play along with his joke. And then he was just basically taunting him a little bit. But no, like Richard is fully intent to leave them both there to be washed up through the current.
Well, he says, though, that if he can hold his breath long enough,
Yes.
that when the tide comes in, it'll loosen up the sand and he'll be able to get out.
Yes. But he knew that was not going to happen. Uh-huh.
Oh, right, of course.
Yes. So we see Becky over there. She's like calling out for Harry and stuff, and she gets drowned about. And then we can see Richard going home and at his beach house, and he's turning on his recorder. I guess he has cameras out there too. So now he's watching. Harry being drowned, and it looked like he had some other videotapes in there too. So I wonder if he's like a serial killer. Like he had a bunch of tapes
Possibly.
in there. You think that's what I was thinking when he was going through like some of his tape collection, and he was like looking and wanted to watch something, and it was just a little later, but he's like looking through it. And I was like, maybe he's done this with other people before, like he's like a mass serial killer that we just don't know about.
Maybe.
So eventually the water keeps coming up to Harry and stuff, and then Harry gets all serious. He looks right at the camera saying, I'm going to come after you, Richard. I'm going to kill you. And he's like, oh, yeah, you hold your breath. You can't hold your breath. And he's like screaming at him. And then the water goes over Harry, and then Harry's head turns into like this 80s glow. All right.
Yeah.
So now Richard's all hanging out at his house, his beach house. You know, want to watch some more videotapes, and he starts hearing a noise. All right. And he's like, you know, he looks around and stuff. He doesn't see anybody with the noise. Goes in there, takes a shower, hears some more noises. And we could see that there is a slimy figure. It's kind of like the shadow. It's about to come inside his house. And once he finally hears the final noise, he grabs his gun. And he's like, come on out, Harry and stuff. I know it's you in there. So he opens up the door, and this is where we can see Swamp Creature, Harry, and Becky. They have come from the dead. They're a swamp creature. They're Alison, kind of like the what do they get? The Black Lagoon's powers or something?
Well, kind of. So they're like I would say they're kind of like ghosts, sort of.
Swamp ghosts?
Like they have seaweed all over them, but they're like risen from the grave.
Yes.
Kind of to get revenge.
To get revenge, brother.
Yeah.
So he starts to try to shoot him a little bit. Doesn't work out. And they're just saying, come to the beach with us, Richard. Come to the beach.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, fuck this. So he gets away from him, locks the door behind him, and he looks back, and there they are. All right, they're there. They pop up behind him. They're like, come to the beach and everything. We're going to take you to the beach. So they eventually get him out there on the beach, and they buried him in sand. And he's all like, I can hold my breath. I could do it. And then we get some of the beach tide, and that ends our story right over here.
Yeah, good tale of revenge. I love revenge tales.
Yes. This is a good one. I like this one. This is yeah. Well, we'll give our ratings later, but I thought this one was very, very fun.
This is the crate.
The crate. Yes. All right, so we got the crate up here next. So this one, it was kind of a weird start off. So we have a couple main characters in this crate. So we have Henry, all right, and he is married to Wilma, which is Billy, which is a very annoying, loudmouth drunk girl at the party. All right,
played by the incredibly gorgeous Adrienne Barbeau.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then we have Dexter Stanley. All right, and they basically, Henry and Dexter, they work together. They're kind of like teachers at the school. And they met a new guy in town coming there to be a teacher and stuff, and the wife. And Billy is just wondering. Billy is like her nickname. Okay. Her
name is Wilma.
Wilma, but she goes by Billy.
Yes.
And she just basically just wants to get everybody drunk, and she basically berates Henry throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, she's a loudmouth bitch, basically.
Yes. So also too, during this too, we have the janitor, Mike the janitor. He loses his quarter, and that's when he sees like these like hidden crates underneath a school staircase that nobody has found out for thousands of years.
It's not been that long, but it's been like 100 years. Yeah.
So the school's been open for 100 years.
Yeah, I mean that's not that uncommon for those northeastern schools.
Yeah.
Like those colleges, like some of those colleges have been open since like the 1700s. But don't they say that it was part of like a Arctic expedition from like 1892 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
So like this, yeah.
So Billy is over there trying to get Amorphagus drunk because he says this party's too dry. All right.
1834, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I just looked it up.
And yeah, 1834, yes. That's where the crate was. And so this part like kind of threw me off a little bit. So Dexter gets a call over from one of his students, right? And they're talking like, yeah, I'll see you tonight. And Henry's looking over like, so that means you're not playing chess with us? Huh? And we find out later like why. So apparently Dexter's wife died, right? And so ever since Dexter's wife has passed away, our boy Dexter, and I'm not talking about Dexter Morgan, okay? I'm talking about this Dexter from CreepShow. He is trying to hit up all the sorority girls now. All right? He has a fascination for his students.
Weaver.
Yeah, he has a fascination with his students now. All right, but then I guess he gets a little embarrassed. So he's like, yeah, I'll play the chess with you later tonight. And then he gets a phone call. And the phone call is through the janitor. And the janitor's saying like, hey, I found this really old crate from like 1834. He's like, don't worry about that. I had some stuff coming from Reader's Digest. You ever got anything from Reader's Digest over there, Alison?
Nope, I've never ordered anything from Reader's Digest.
Well, our boy Dexter
that was definitely a 1980s thing for sure.
And then he told him, like, no, this thing's like older. It's like hidden on the streets. You can take a look at it. He's like, okay. So he goes down to the school with the janitor. Janitor tells him how he found them by losing his quarter for his Coke machine. And they bring the crate, to the lab, and the janitor's like, I thought I heard something like crawling around and stuff in here. It's like, no, like we're the only two here. Like everybody's out for school already. So I don't know what you're hearing and stuff. And they're like, okay, well, let's open it anyway. So they open the crate and they see something move. And they're like, well, what the hell? And then like the janitor looks it through. And it's kind of a cool shot where you can kind of like see his eyes through like the crate and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I think there's something in there. It's very shiny. And he puts his hand there. And of course, the hand gets bitten off. And he's getting like, and this is when the fucking Dexter, this guy, he does a great I'm scared to death, freaked out face. All right? This Fritz guy, I mean, this is fucking fantastic. His facials in this fucking movie. So he's freaking out. The creature is now eating up the janitor, like through the whole box. And it pops out and it's basically a giant teeth-looking teddy bear. All right.
Huh, that's interesting. I thought it was like a baboon.
Yeah, I can see baboon.
It looks like a baboon with really sharp teeth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, this thing has been in this crate since 1834 underneath the staircase.
Yeah.
But it's never made any noise.
No, it just hangs out, brother. It's chained up. What do you want him to do?
But now, since the janitor dropped his quarter in there, now it's all pissed off.
Well, I'm thinking like, so you're telling me this thing has been there since 1834, right? And now it's 1982. Yes. So you're telling me in like over like, this is 100 years. So you're telling me in 100 years they never did any remodeling?
No.
Okay.
Never. It's been 150 years actually.
Did they even have those kind of stairs in 1932?
I don't know.
Or maybe it was like one. You know what it was? It was kind of like in Game of Thrones or the book. It's kind of like Magor, where he had the whole King's Landing. All the secret passageways were all built and stuff. All right.
Yeah.
And they had like all these people built the staircases and all the stuff to hide all the secrets. And then what he did was he fed all the people who made the secret passageway. He fed them and stuff, and then he killed them all. So nobody would ever know the secrets except for him. Maybe the owner of the building, this building, did the same.
Maybe. That's not the story I want to see, though. The story I want to see is how in 1834 they got this thing in the crate to start with.
Well, you just throw them a body.
I guess so. But if you take the top off of it, it like eats you immediately. Like it just pulls your arm inside the crate and eats you, and then blood splurts all over the rooms. How do they get this damn thing inside
it seems
crate?
like after it's done eating a little bit, it's like it calms down. So maybe you take that little short thing and you come in
body. Yeah.
So after this happens, Fritz, he freaks out. All right, and he runs into Charlie, this kid. And he's telling Charlie, like, he can barely even talk. Like, he's just mumbling to Charlie. And Charlie just thinks he's crazy. He's like, hey, there's something in there. It's crazy. It's killing people. And Charlie's like, okay, well, looks like you're a little off your rocker right now. All right. And I think he said far out. So he's like getting out of there. So he's trying to escape from Fritz now. But then he goes into that room and he sees all the blood everywhere. And now he thinks Dexter is the one who killed everybody. So now he starts freaking out about him. And he's like, no, there's a box. There's a box here. Like, just go. He's telling him, just go into that staircase. There's a box in there. There's a crazy demon in there. Just go look. And then it's like, okay. And Charles like about to go in there. He's like, wait a minute. You're not really going to go in there, are you? I just told you there's a crazy demon in there. And Charles like, well, I got to see for myself. Just to make sure. So he goes in there, looks around with the flashlight. Yeah. He sees the shoe. The shoe's all torn up and everything. It's all, teared up and everything. And he goes in there, and then he gets attacked by the monster. And this is when Dexter gets out there and he freaks out and he goes away.
Yeah, there is one thing that we did for one plot point we forgot to mention about this. We did mention that Billy is a loudmouth bitch. But we did not mention that her husband is constantly fantasizing about killing her.
That's true. Yes. So he had one fantasy at the party where you were just gonna shot her in the head, and everybody was like congratulating him while she's like berating him in front of public and stuff.
Right.
And then there was one where I had this happen to me before. Oh, you didn't clean off the stove, you asshole. I was like, oh, fuck, what? And then he dreams of choking her with the tie. All right.
Yeah, and then you, so then that happened. Then you fantasized about killing your girlfriend. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
I can relate.
Now, I'd be too scared. She probably has some Jedi trick that she'd kill me in there. All right.
Yes.
She'd probably get to me first, brother. All right. Gotta be careful with that one. And then like the and then she kept saying like, "What would you do without me?" You know, that was her big line. What would you do? What could you do without me? All right. So then Dexter comes to goes to Henry's place, telling him all what happened, and everything. And at first, I don't think Henry was believing him, but he was just like, I guess some ideas were forming in his head.
Yeah.
And he pours the he basically pours a little liquid into Dexter's drink, and Dexter drinks it, and now he's passed out. Okay. And now he's gonna go. Now he goes to the school. Henry does, and he leaves a note for Billy, because Billy, she went off after berating him to go get her hair done and shit.
Yeah, of course.
And he's cleaning up the blood. Billy comes back home. She's like screaming for him and everything, still berating him, saying this guy can't figure out how to lock doors or nothing. And he reads the note. All right, and check out this note. All right, I could not believe they were putting this in this film. This was the note. All right.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, Billy or Wilma, this is Henry or Dexter got himself into some trouble. Like, you remember, Dexter's wife died a couple years back, and he's been fornicating with all these younger girls since then. And
he's banging college students.
He's banging college students lately and stuff. And he really did it with this one. He came to my house all screaming and stuff and said he's really bad and it's crazy and everything. You should see what he did to her and everything. I think he really got this one this time. I was like, well, what do you mean? Wait a minute.
So wait a minute.
What's going on over here?
Hold on.
Hold on, fine. So wait a minute.
So they're perfectly okay.
Yeah.
They think it's normal
Yes.
that he might have killed this girl.
I was like, did
And
this
that's
happen
a
before?
fucking normal thing. Right. That's
And then
what I was
Billy's
thinking. Has he done this before?
And then Billy's like, oh man, he did it again. And I was like, what? Wait a minute. What did this come from?
Like what? In what world?
Yeah.
Even in 1982, was this normal that, I'm sure it was more normal than it is now for a college professor to bang a college student.
Yeah.
But they make it sound so normal. He really did it this time. He killed this girl.
Yeah.
What the fuck? But anyway, that's what we're rolling
with. And then he's writing hey, I can't do anything on my own. I need your help to help me fix this situation. He's like, of course he did. So she shows up to the school. Of course she does. All right. And they're talking everything, and she's like, hey, where's Dexter? I was like, he's not here. I was like, I need to show you this girl. You got to see for yourself. I was like, why can't you just tell me? He's like, you just got to see for yourself. All right?
Got to see for yourself.
And then, she's just not having it, and you could tell, he's laughing and stuff now because he's so nervous. All right? Mm-hmm. And he's just like, listen, just go under the staircase. Check it out for yourself. She's in there. She's in there. She's in the staircase. Go check it out. So she goes to the staircase, right? She goes all the way in there. And he tries he doesn't even wait till she even gets halfway in there where he's just trying to push her and lock her in, which doesn't even work. He can't even do that right. All right. Mm-hmm. And then she goes up to the crate a little bit and she doesn't see anything. And then Henry starts freaking out. So he starts banging her against the crate and nothing's happening. And then she's basically starts punching him and stuff. You, what the fuck are you trying to do here? You idiot and stuff. She's berating him some more and everything. And now he can't figure out what happened? Where's this demon that Dexter was talking about? And then out of nowhere, the bamboo teddy bear claw demon grabs Billy, starts eating her. Yeah. He runs away a little bit. And then he grabs the lock, goes back there all slowly, locks the cage, even though the thing was trying to get out a little bit. And then now he's recapping to Dexter what he did with the crate. Basically, he took the crate into his truck. He cleaned up the whole place. Nobody was going to know that he was there or this even happened at all. That basically that he fed his wife to this demon because there was nobody at the school, no lights run or no nothing. So he takes the crate and just throws it in the fucking river.
Yep.
And then now Henry and Dexter, he tells Dexter all this, and they're all like playing chess. And Dexter's like, well, what happens if I would have called the police? He's like, no, you didn't. I know you didn't. All right.
Mm.
And then Dexter's like, well, what if it gets out? He's like, I changed it up myself. It won't get out.
It's
and
not
of course,
gonna get out.
and then
It'll
of course
never get out.
we see that it actually gets out and it opens up with the eyes, and they lead the story. So this one was pretty fun.
I like this one a lot.
The crate, brother. So now we got our last story over here of the evening. And this one is the, something? No. They're creeping up on you.
They're creeping up on you. Yep.
All right. This one was a little interesting. So we have Upsin Pratt. All right. He is basically a rich, old white dude in this condo suite. I guess it's his house, even though it looked like something out of like the 1970s Austin Power movie or something.
Yeah. So basically he's like a he's like I think he's modeled on like Howard Hughes. Okay. So Howard Hughes was like this rich guy who dabbled in a lot of things, filmmaking, but he was like one of the richest people in the world. But he at one point, he was one of the richest people in the world at one point. But he developed this really, really bad case of like obsessive compulsive disorder, kind of, and like he was extreme like germaphobe. So in the last years of his life, he would live in a penthouse apartment and he would never come out. He just never came out of his house.
Okay.
And that's kind of what this is based on.
Yeah.
But he would basically spend all of his money. Like he would have like for example, like a story about Howard Hughes about how rich he was like he lived in Las Vegas for a while because he wanted to he rented the penthouse at the Tropicana, and they got to where they were trying, like he stayed there for like forever, like months. And then they were trying to get him to leave the penthouse, so he just bought the entire hotel. And then he bought a television station so that it could play like movies that he liked in the middle of the night, things like that. Okay. So like he would just he just had like an insane amount of money and could just buy basically whatever he wanted. So that's who this guy is. Like he's like this rich guy who like is so afraid of germs that he won't come out of his house.
Yeah, because basically he has like a jukebox there, and he's complaining about these bugs, basically where they're cockroaches, and
he found a cockroach.
He wants to know where the landlord is because he wants to get these cockroaches out of here, and he finds out the landlord's on vacation, and he gave him until 10 o'clock to show up, and it's 9:43. Okay, so now that he gets a call from his partner saying that they actually got to close this deal. All right. And he just going on about stuff like, so basically he got this deal closed from this guy named Kastemeyer. All right. And so hold on. Let me start up. So he gets a call from like his partner, and they're talking a little bit. Like he doesn't let the person speak, because he kept going on about saying like the landlord's not here. Hey, there's like this air pollution out there. Everybody's gonna be sucking up carbon monoxide. They're all gonna be dead. Okay, and there's like cockroaches all around this house. I'm paying for this $32,000 a month apartment condo suite, and there's bugs everywhere. All right. Which is a valid claim. Okay, I would say.
Especially for that much money in
Exactly.
1982.
Better be. He said like it's so. I think he said like it was supposed to be like environmental friendly in here. Okay, but there's bugs everywhere. Okay, and then the guy says, "Hey, you need to listen. We got the Gordon deal signed, but Gordon shot himself." And we think he shot himself from this takeover that's happening. He got so distressed over it, you taking over the company, outbidding him. And our boy Upstein's like, wonderful. Great.
Yeah, he seems
That's
to be
all
happy
great.
about that.
Yes, he's rejoicing. Okay. Yeah. So now now we can see him spraying more cockroaches all around his house. And he gets another phone call. And this is when he gets a phone call from Gordon's wife, who is now complaining to him, saying, I hope you're happy. You know, he only took his life because of what you did. You're the last person he said on his the voice and stuff. I hope you rot in hell. I hope hell is hot enough for you. I was like, damn. All right. It says, I hope you get fucking cancer and I hope you get leprosy. I was like, damn, this girl just doing it all over here. Shit. All right. And then he's all like, ma'am, who gave you my personal number? Because I want to find that employee and fire him. All right. And she's like, nobody gave me your number. The number was in Gordon's phone book. And he's all like, well, I guess I can't really fire him, can I?
Nope, because he's dead.
Sick burn, motherfucker. Then he hangs up on her. And of course there's bugs everywhere. And finally the bugs are kind of getting into his food. All right. And then now he gets a call from the landlord who was on vacation. All right. And he was on vacation to Disneyland. Our boy Upstein's like, nah. He's like, listen, you better come back from that damn vacation and take care of these bugs over here, or else you're going to be on vacation next year with your family Disney World off your welfare check. It's like, damn. It's fucking sick burns everywhere around this one. All right. So then he's like, well, listen, I'll have my guy over there take care of it for you. All right. And then his guy is like Mr. White, who is a black dude.
Strangely enough.
And then we get them talking. And I'm not going to lie, a little bit of this was a little racial. Okay. So I'm probably not going to say what they were saying to each other. All right, yeah. But the extent of it is Mr. White, the caretaker or caretaker assistant, the janitor, it's probably like the maintenance guy mostly. He's like, listen, I called the exterminator. I don't know who has an exterminator 24/7 like you do, but we called them and they're gonna be here soon. Okay, but you just need to wait up a little bit. And you could tell in his voice that Mr. White didn't really like. He just thought like Upstein was crazy. Like he didn't believe anything he said, basically. But Mr. White was very animated himself. Okay. So now the bugs are starting to get really out of control. Okay, they're getting to all the kitchen stuff. They're coming out everything. And all the power starts going out now. The power went out. And we kind of see the emergency power signs on enough. All right. And he finally gets a call and he gets through to the exterminator, all right? And he tells him who he is, Upstein and everything. I need you in my house right now. All these freaking things are taking over. And the exterminator guy's like, there's a bunch of bugs everywhere. I can't come to your place right now. There are bugs everywhere. And I was thinking, oh shit, wait a minute. You know, we have bugs everywhere. Like, okay, cockroach bugs everywhere. They're taking over. And we find out that it's not only in his penthouse, they're everywhere, supposedly. This is like the fucking nest. Maybe our boy Upstein was on that same island. And he actually had a condo on that island where they were doing those bug experiments, brother. All right? It all ties together. That's what I was thinking.
Maybe, yeah.
So then he tries to call Mr. White. He's stuck in the elevator. And he's like, well, get out of there. He's like, well, I can't. I'm stuck. So they're all stuck and everything, and then this is when Upstein starts freaking all out, and then this is when we can hear the Gordon's wife again. I guess she got through, and she says, I hope you die, I hope you die. There's bugs all over the place. I mean, they're on the walls, the floors, everywhere, all around there, okay? And then it's a couple hours later, I guess, and the jukebox comes on, and we get a ring at the doorbell. It's Mr. White saying, "Hey, do bugs got your tongue? Where are you? You're not answering the door. I'm here." He kept doing all these jokes and stuff. And then we see Epstein just laying on his bed and stuff. And then this is when we get bugs crawling all around him and shit. You know, the bugs like fly, you know. He got eaten by cockroaches. I mean, I'm pretty sure the nest took from this movie and this scene. I mean, it had to be.
Maybe, yeah. Because, I mean, like, so he's, like, covered in bugs, and then, like, the bugs, like, burst out of his chest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
brother. They're eating bugs.
Amazing. Yes.
So this is a pretty wild story. So then we end with the ending stuff where we can see the garage guys picking up some of the trash. And we can see that the CreepShow comic book was in there. And then one of the trash guys grabs the comic book. And they start reading some articles like about X-ray glasses. They're not in there. And then they're like, hey, we can't get this voodoo doll because somebody took the free voodoo doll coupon out. All right.
Yep. One of those is played by Tom Savini.
Yes. It's pretty wild. And now we go back to where Tom Atkinson and his wife and stuff are in there. And he's like, hey, where's the kid Billy? Where is he at? All right. You know what I mean? Back when I was, back in we didn't read no comic books, brother. We were real men. All right. Where's he at over here? And he's like, well, I'm going to get up there. And now, Tom started feeling some sick. He's like, hey, what's wrong with you? He's like, oh. He's like, do you need some Bengay? All right. And then he starts freaking out. And then we could see that Billy is the one who got the voodoo doll. And now he is doing voodoo magic on his dad. And then we end with the creeper creeping out, brother. And that ends the CreepShow. Number 1.
Yeah. Number 1.
All right. So let's give our list over here. So,
all right.
Do you want to go first?
Nope.
Okay. I'll go first.
You go first.
Okay. So the one I'm going to give number 1 to that I like the best was Something to Tide You Over. All right. I thought that story was, I enjoyed that story the most because, the realism that actually kind of could happen. I liked Nelson. I liked his freaking acting. I thought he did a great jackass, asshole character, possibly a serial killer. And I like the whole scene. I just liked everything about this. I thought that was my number 1. My number 2 is probably going to be The Crate. All right. I like that one. I thought that one was pretty wild. It was kind of fucked up where the guy would actually went through with killing his wife and stuff, and some crazy backstory of Dexter killing sorority girls and shit. I was like, fuck, what the hell's going on over here? And then we get this crazy bamboo teeth monster. And then I would give it up to the next is probably going to be the bug one. They're creeping up on you. I thought I thought that was pretty crazy because the whole thing reminded me of that Nest movie, but I liked it where they had the whole bugs taking over and stuff, and this crazy guy was getting his. Then I probably have to go with the Father's Day for my 4th one. This one was I couldn't really understand too much of some people's dialogue on here, and the story was just kind of it was okay. Even though I did like the old guy screaming for cake. His lines were cake, bitch, and Father's Day. I mean, that was his lines.
Yes.
And then the 5th one, obviously weeds. I just thought that shit was terrible. The whole thing. But besides the ending where, yes, we did have his castle place, and you could tell the world's going to be, taken out by this deadly plant disease, but I still thought it was kind of corny. But Alison, what was your list like? Was your list close to mine? Or?
So the reason I wanted you to go first was because I'm still struggling for my number 1 spot. But I'm going to say that I like The Crate the best.
Okay, I can see it.
So the reason I like The Crate the best was because I like all the craziness that's in it about the guy banging the the students, and that's like a normal thing. It's also got Adrienne Barbeau in it, which I'm absolutely have always had this gigantic love for her. So she's in it. It's also very H.P. Lovecraft like.
Yeah.
So Stephen King was hugely influenced by Lovecraft. He writes a lot of his stuff in a Lovecraftian style, and I like the idea of like there's this old ancient things that have been around longer than humans, and they're going to be here when humans are gone. And this creature that they found in the Arctic in the 1800s has been in this crate, and now it's in our world, and we can't control it. I love the idea of that, so I liked it the best. The second one was definitely something to tide you over. That's probably honestly the best story of the movie, but that was really, really good. I really like that a lot. My third favorite one is Something That's Creeping Up on You, mostly because of the Tom Savini special effects with the chest bursting with the bugs. I really like that a lot. This is going to be controversial. My next favorite one is The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. I liked it better than you did.
Yeah.
It's pretty silly. It's really silly. It's goofy. But I like the idea of the plants taking over everything. I think that's kind of cool. And then I like Father's Day the least.
Yeah.
I just think it didn't really have a lot of substance, although Ed Harris is great in it.
Yeah.
I liked it actually the least. But yeah, that's my ranking on those.
Sounds pretty fair to me. But yeah, we'll do those for every episode this month. We'll rank our top stories that we like the best out of all these movies on here. Even though I think one of them only has like 2 stories, but we'll just do 1 and 2.
Yep.
But everybody, that's been CreepShow. Definitely fun. I mean,
yes,
I can't wait to see number 2 because I think I remember the most about number 2 because that's what we're gonna be doing next week here on the Retro Blood CreepShow 2. Mm-hmm. So that should be pretty fun.
Quite different.
Yes. Yeah, it is quite different. It's been a while since I've seen it, so it should be pretty fun, like going back and checking this out. But we also got some other stuff for you guys. What else do we got this month there, Alison, that we're going to be doing?
We got some more obscure stuff. We got From a Whisper to a Scream, which is features Vincent Price, the great Vincent Price.
Oh my God. Bro.
Maybe one of the only times we get to talk about Vincent Price on this show.
That's going to be a great episode.
Yeah.
I was reading about that film. Like, you guys definitely want to go check that one out because that's gonna be a wild roller, bro. The first story sounds insane. Okay,
yeah,
like I can't wait to do that movie. What else we got?
It's gonna be great. So then we're also gonna do an unknown, well, not unknown, obviously, but a little known movie that I've never personally seen called Fright House. I believe that's gonna be the short one. It only has 2 stories in it. So that's a classic from the early 80s. And then we're going to finish up with the, as we usually do with the big classic movie, Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh, Twilight Zone, the movie. Mm-hmm. Which I don't think I've seen, even though I'm a big fan of Twilight Zone. So that should be fun.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it does have some attachment to the television series. We'll talk about that. There's a lot to talk about in Twilight Zone, the movie. It's as you start researching it, you're going to find out some crazy shit about that movie.
Oh, that's going to be fun. But yeah, everybody, join us. It's going to be a packed month over here in March, brother. It's going to be a wild ride with these anthology stories. So I can't wait to see where we're going to be packed. Because it's also a fun month for me because I haven't seen most of these movies. So I always love like going into them with like fresh eyes and everything. So, but everybody, if you have seen these movies, if you haven't, follow along with us here on the Retro Blood. And don't forget to follow us on the Instagram, Facebook page. I actually got us a website too, which I've been doing some blogs lately, where you can find the top 5, top 20 horror movies you can find on 4K that we talk about from the 80s. I did a recap of our Vampire Month in the 80s on the website over there. So everybody go check it out if you guys like to see some blog posts about the show. I also, I'm a big fan of physical media.
Oh yes.
Like I'm me and Alison probably are a big fan of physical media.
Yeah, physical media is king.
It's king, man. Because a lot of streaming servers, you don't own this shit. You know what I mean?
Nope.
So on the blog post, what I do, what I'm gonna start doing on the website is if I can find it, I'll send links to everybody on the post. So if y'all want to find if they want to see if this movie's out on 4K or Blu-ray or even DVD, I'll link it on there so you can go purchase it. Through there as well too. So there's some place for you guys to find.
Buy your Blu-rays.
Buy
your Blu-rays,
bro. They steal books,
man. You don't own anything. Yeah, you don't own anything streaming.
Exactly.
That shit can disappear tomorrow.
Exactly.
Buy your Blu-rays.
I've talked a little bit about this before on the show. Night of the Demons is one of my favorite horror movies, which we did in the archives. Everybody go check it out. But they finally released a 4K of it, but then it came with Blu-rays, and I could have waited to they had the 4K version. I believe it was on Peacock for a while. I could have just watched that one, but I was like, no, I want to own it. It's one of my favorite movies and stuff. You got to own that shit, brother.
Yeah, and there's things that people don't consider too when you're talking about physical media, because with your streaming something, I could decide tomorrow, if I'm a billionaire, I could decide tomorrow that I fucking hate Night of the Demons, and I could buy the rights to that movie and remove all rights to streaming for it forever.
Yeah,
and you never see that movie again. But if you own a Blu-ray like James does, you can watch it. You can't come and take my Blu-ray away.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Not unless you don't want to die.
Yeah, and it just, some of the stuff even looks better. You get those 4K resolutions coming out from the DVD, playing it right through your DVD player to your high screen TV. It's going to look better than streaming it because you're still streaming stuff over the internet.
Yeah, because you got one of those newfangled 4K televisions. I still watch everything on a tube TV, but you got that newfangled 4K, so you're watching everything the way it's supposed to be watched.
Yeah, brother. See, I'm like our boy Biff from Back to the Future. What I did was I stole the DeLorean and I went to the year 2024 and I got one of them nice 4K TVs and I brought it back to the 80s. So that's what I did.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what I do, brother. So speaking of that, let's get on out of here. How about we play some Shy Boy? All right.
Let's do Shy Boy from Talas.
From Talas, brother, because it's kind of like our boy. It's kind of like our boy Henry from the Crate.
Yeah,
brother. He was a shy boy at the beginning until he found his way out by feeding his wife to a mangled teddy bear bamboo creature box demon. All right.
Yep. Watch out for the bamboos.
Watch out for that, brother. But we'll see you here next time on the Retro Blood CreepShow 2. Y'all have a great one.
It's going to be great. Watch the movies, guys. See ya.
Do it.